Welcome, everyone. My name is Devin Price, and this is the Talking Tech podcast, where we showcase rising and thriving talent in technology and cybersecurity. A little bit about me. I've been in the tech and cybersecurity space for a little bit now. And within that time, there's been two groups of people that have really started to just have my heart. Number one is those people that have the attitude and aptitude to get into either the tech or cybersecurity field that just don't have a platform to showcase that. And number two are those individuals who are already either in tech or cybersecurity that are doing great things, thriving, and just not enough people know about it that should. And so that's what this podcast and this platform is about, is really just showcasing those two groups of people. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking with Temitope about her career in tech and her desire to continue to break into the cybersecurity field. So before we get into our conversation, let me read Temitope's bio so the audience has a better idea of who she is and where she is coming from. Temitope is a security personnel who is interested in understanding digital security and its vastness. She started her cybersecurity career last year, which helped her to understand security concepts and demonstrate soft skills like leadership, problem solving, and human relationships. She majored in offensive security, cloud computing, and vulnerability assessments. She has a background in physics education where she was able to demonstrate her teaching skills. She has an open mind to unlimited growth and a continuous desire to develop as her career grows. So Temitope, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Honestly, I'm really excited to be here today. Honestly.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I do want to make a slight edit, is that you are already in the cybersecurity field, but you're continuing to grow in that space. I just want to be clear.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Apparently, I started cybersecurity last year.
Mm-hmm.
I started I want to go into cybersecurity. So actually what happened was that I know I wanted to go into tech. I wanted to go into IT and stuff like that. But I really do not have a clue of where my direction is going to. And
Gotcha.
So that came a lot of researching and asking questions from people and things like that. So I think cybersecurity got my attention actually. Yeah. You got a lot of things that has to relevant. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you want to, and just so we're clear, you want to continue to make your way into that space.
Yes.
Got it.
Definitely.
So let's go back. So I know you said you had a background in physics education. So how did I guess your desire to just get into tech? Because I know cybersecurity you found out a year ago, but just walk me through just tech. What got you interested in technology?
Okay, so I would like to start from where I started from physics transitioning into tech.
Yeah.
So I started trying to apply to universities.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, I want to go for a medical course, to be a medical doctor, Yep. So I want to be, because before I decided I want to go into medical doctor, I know I like when it comes to technical things that I know, how to use my hands and things analytic and things like that. So I started. So apparently I could not get into university for medical as medical student because of the cutoff mark. So I went through
what is that? Just what is that cutoff mark that you're referring to?
Okay, so so basically we're supposed to take, there's something we call JAM, that's the Joint Admission Matriculation Exam.
Oh, okay, like entrance exam.
Yes. So you get a cutoff mark. Then after you I think cutoff mark is 200 upward. Yes, 200 upward.
Oh, I see.
So after you get that, you get to do an entrance exam to the school of your chosen. Mm-hmm. So I passed the exam, but when it comes to post-duty exam to the school, it get me messed up. So I feel like I can't keep doing this. Let me just find something related to science even though it's not going to be medical expert, let me go for something related. So apparently physics was not even like something I think I wanted to go for, but
Yeah, you made
I
it
feel like
through.
let me give it
Wow.
a try. Yeah,
Okay.
it was tough though, but I just started like, okay, you know what? Let me give it a try. Like, there's no harm in trying. So
Yeah.
I started doing physics, learning everything about physics, but it was on education part. So after my school graduating and things like that, so actually, my surrounding and things like that, I try to like familiarize that with my physics education, but it was not like aligning, getting jobs and things like that. So I started like, okay, you know what? Since I think I like something technical, I can look into
Right.
IT and like
Okay.
anything tech. So I started making research, like a lot of research. First thing that struck my mind was like, I want to know how to code. Like,
Right.
I really wanted to know how to code. Like, I was so desperate, like, you know, let me see what this thing is. And since I can scale through physics, I feel like it's
That's
not
what
a
I'm
bad
saying.
thing,
If you can
actually.
make physics
So,
work, yeah, go ahead.
so I feel like it's not going to be about, even though I'm going to have like some lapses. It's
Yeah.
and cybersecurity is a great community. I don't even think it's only cybersecurity. I think tech in general is a great community that where you get
Yeah.
to ask people questions and they relate well with you. Yeah, I
I
think
would agree.
that's a good thing for me. Yeah, so and it really helped me actually. So it was very much easier for me to like transition and like when like I ask people questions and they're ready to help, which is very fascinating, honestly. Yeah.
So
So
I saw, and I think you mentioned when you kind of decided to make that pivot from physics education into tech that you started coding. And I think I saw in your background, did you spend some time as a web designer for a little bit?
yes, yeah, yeah.
How did that happen?
So while I was making my research, there's so in my community, like my area where I stay, so there's like a small tech hub around there where like they tell you they teach coding, they teach this.
Yep.
So I went there to make an inquiry and things like that. Oh, you know what? So I really was not exposed to like asking people questions because I'm a really shy type. So I
Yeah.
don't want people to
Most
reject
people in tech are.
me. I don't want people to reject me. Like rejection is like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
So I started like, I went to the hub and I asked questions. Like I told, the instructor did like my intentions, but cybersecurity was not what I told him. I just told him that I want to go into IT, but I think I want to start with this. But I really do not have a centered course, like, or maybe I want to go for software engineering or so kind of way he directed my attention to web design. So he started like taking me what web like HTML, CSS, like let me
CSS,
understand the
JavaScript.
concept and things. Yes. So at a point when I was doing the web design, so I did an internship for a while with him. But at a point I was just like, so from there I started getting familiar with tech and I started doing more research on it. Then I got cybersecurity. And I feel like, you know what? I think this is it. This is what I'm actually looking for. And it just blew my mind, honestly. Yeah.
So
I think that's how I
I
like
just
it.
want to,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I'm listening. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
I like your journey because I feel like that's the case for a lot of people who don't immediately start in tech. It's more of like, hey, I started over here with physics education. I knew I kind of liked technology. You know, you started kind of asking questions like you said. Put yourself out there a little bit, even though you say you're kind of shy. You did put yourself out there. Went to somebody that's in it. They kind of pointed you, okay, start with web design. Start just understanding how to program websites. And then as you were doing that, then it's like, okay, here's this other thing that I didn't even know about that I think this is finally what I was trying to go after the whole time. So sometimes I would just say for anybody that's listening, it's not always a straight shot. A lot of times people take some
Yeah.
zigs and zags. And the
Exactly.
biggest thing is it doesn't matter how you got there. You're there. Like no one is going to penalize you if you took kind of a roundabout way to get
Yeah.
to cybersecurity. So, and then I think the reason once you got to cybersecurity, what was, I guess, your what were you trying to do after that? So you understand, hey, I like cybersecurity, but how did you figure out offensive security?
Okay. So I think one thing I've noticed in cybersecurity, and for anyone who's coming into cybersecurity, and which also happened to me, was like we really do not, I don't think I think I've learned again that cybersecurity is not just more about only hacking and like breaking into systems, and like it's much more beyond that. So,
Yeah,
but one thing that got my attention was like, like in movies you see like people are like doing technical, like very fast
yeah,
things, and like hacking was like my first goal. So I really do not know if there's an offensive or defensive. I knew like cybersecurity was like this. So that really, really even I think it really got a bad impact in me, because in the sense that I knew it was just cybersecurity. So I don't know, there was defensive and there was offensive. So
yep,
I was just studying for everything in cybersecurity, like every single thing, every resources that comes my way, it's a go. So I really do not have that streamlining like that. So I was just reading a bunch of things, getting burnt out, like getting tired and things like that. So at a point, I got to know this tech community, Black in Cybersecurity. Yeah.
yep,
So I joined Black in Cybersecurity. So I think there was a day they were like, "Oh, if you want to be in blue team, you want to be red team." So I was like, what was that? So I started like making research on that, like, oh, what does this mean? So at a point, I figured out that I think I've been doing something wrongly.
mm,
So. I think when I was studying a SOC analyst content while I was still
hmm
studying an offensive content. Like it was just, but it was not like aligning. But somehow I was like, okay. But apparently, when Black in Cybersecurity like came in, they were like differentiate these. So it gave me like much perspective. Like, okay,
right,
there are different parts in cybersecurity, and these are the things like you need, like defenders and offenders and things like
yeah, it's
that.
not all one
So
thing.
yeah, so I started like making research, and I feel like, oh, okay, this is it, this is it. So while like making research, jotting down some like things, I knew, okay, I think this is what I want to go for. So, and I always like seeing people on like LinkedIn, Twitter, and be like, oh, I'm in offensive, I'm in defensive. So it gives me
Yeah,
more upper edge. Like I think people can go for this and this, or you can add as well. Be the same, like be the two if that's what you want. But I feel like, okay, you know what? Let me start with offensive. Let me learn about how these things are being done here. Then I can
hmm
go back and learn how I can defend it, since I already know the loopholes. Do you like, I feel like, okay, so let me start with offensive, even though I'm going to end my career with a defensive, which I don't know yet. But for now,
okay.
I think,
So you
yeah.
so you already started, I guess, to you studied everything with cybersecurity. It's like, hey, let me just everything I can get, kind of drinking from a fire hose. Then it's like, again, you're around more people, you're talking with more people in the field. They start to say, hey, there's the red team, there's the blue team. And then for those who just don't know, red team is you're trying to break or trying to find out what are the security vulnerabilities within a system. And then blue team is you're trying to plug those holes or just build a better secure system from the start.
Yeah.
And so basically they started to lead you into there's blue and there's red. And you say, okay, let me start with red. And what basically you're saying is your desire is, hey, eventually I want to also, get to blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually how it started with my career as well, is I did the opposite, is I got in from cybersecurity with blue. And currently, now at the time of this recording, I'm on red. And I think at some point, yeah, I probably will come back to blue as well. So I can definitely speak to that.
Uh,
One of the things, Temitope, I think that you may have mentioned, but like not gone into as much detail, is during that like last year while you've really been soaking up cybersecurity concepts and topics. I know that you just finished up a 7th-month internship at CyberSafe Foundation. So after you did your internship with that web design opportunity, at some point you found yourself with CyberSafe Foundation. Can you talk about just kind of that experience and how do you feel about being a CyberGirl 2.0?
Honestly, it's really I wouldn't say it's a dream come true actually, because when the first edition came in, I was super excited, but I saw the application very late.
So you're the second class.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was like, so when I saw the application, it was already late. So I started like asking the founder, which is so she's on Twitter, she's called Cicined. So
okay.
I sent her a message on Instagram, like, I would like to join this. And she was like, so she started like making inquiries to know my age range, my desire, and things like that. She was like, she encouraged me like, okay, you know what? Next year there will be an edition. You can apply.
Okay.
So I was like following it back to back. So this was it. So from web design, when I already knew that I wanted to go for cybersecurity while I was still doing web design.
Yep.
I was so on the side, I was like reading some security concepts, like a little, but I really do not have like a mentor or a guideline. So I was like, but I know that this thing is like this is like this, but I really do not have like a structured environment. So
right.
I as time goes on, after my web design, I started like learning all these things. And I think what CyberSafe did for me was they really structured my life in the point that I get to understand that so I think my perspective now is not like, I won't be only breaking systems. I need to follow policy, compliance, some best practice and things like that. So it really structured my learning. And again, before I got CyberSafe, I think I met you before I got CyberSafe. Yes. Yeah, I met you before I got. So I think it was that time that I was like being curious, like asking questions, and I got to see your LinkedIn. I was like, you know what? I think I can jump on this and ask questions. And fortunately, you were like open up to me, and I was like, okay. And that was then Black in Cybersecurity came into. So I really do not still have a structure at that time before CyberSafe. So I was like still do. So, but what you like, I think some of the things that you told me, and some questions that I've like asked some people and they've answered, I've been able to like, okay, even though I'm not on the full part, but I already know that this is what I need to learn to get to this certain stage. So apparently CyberSafe came in and they boosted it up. So it was just like a win-win kind of thing. It was really exciting, even though I had some difficulties while in the internship and like that, but it's it's a great experience for me actually. Like it really helped me. Like, and I said earlier that when I said like I'm a very shy type person, like I don't talk, I hardly ask questions. One thing again about I think cybersecurity. Let me just focus on cybersecurity is that rejection is like, no one likes rejection. I don't like rejection.
No, nobody
but
does.
Cybersecurity makes me understand, like, if you get rejected, up until the next person till you get whatever you want to do. Sometimes when I ask some people's question, they ghost me, and I'll be like, okay. I asked another person, and he answered. I'll be like, I think
it's night and day.
I'll be like, if you don't answer, someone else will do. Like, if you don't do this, someone else will do. And I don't blame you, but I feel like, well, I think other people would up. So rejection is not like, you know what, it's cool. But so it really helped me. And at the time of the internship, I was able to learn a lot, like resilience, patience. I was not I was not at my peak point, but I had to like scale through and things like that. And honestly, it was a great experience. I would say that, yeah, I can vouch for that. It's a great experience.
So there's a lot you said there that I want to pick out is because I do remember when you reached out to me, and I know a lot of people will reach out and say, hey, I want to get into tech, I want to get into cybersecurity. Where do I start? Right, and they'll just just jump in. And one of the things I think that you learned is that it's my personal opinion. It's better if you focus on one slice of tech or cybersecurity and you learn that and you start with that and you start to have that structured study program. I tell a lot of people a lot of times, if you're trying to get into cybersecurity, one of the great things to do, or tech, is start studying for a certification. Security Plus, A Plus, Network Plus, whatever it is, because those certifications have study material. So it's like you feel every day that you're studying something that makes sense versus I'm here one day, I'm here the next day, and none of they all make sense in cybersecurity, but it's like I'm just starting out. And so I really just need to spend 12 weeks learning, application security or network security, or learning about, how networks work. That will probably get you farther if you just kind of focus in on that. The other thing you mentioned is just I think the apprenticeship programs or any type of tech or cybersecurity, I guess, boot camp, if you will. Not only are they going to teach you, that give you that structured career, but they're also going to teach you about kind of those soft skills that you said about, hey, how to deal with rejection, how to, speak up for yourself, how to deal with problem solving, leadership, all that kind of stuff. So I definitely, recommend that to anybody who's kind of just getting into tech or cybersecurity. Definitely try to structure your learning instead of kind of just jumping into the pool, without
honestly,
a plan.
Yes, because while if you I think one thing again is if you're trying to like jump on one thing or the other and you don't get like streamline, like, okay, this is what I want to go for, you get confused, you get burnt out, you get
Yeah,
I'm
that's true.
and again, something you're supposed to achieve like in the next 6 months, you're like supposed to achieve this particular. While doing all those things, like you moving from here to here, you get like your time get wasted, and at the end of the day,
Yep,
you'll be like, "What am I even studying? What am I even
exactly.
doing?" You're like, I got to that stage, honestly. Like, I got to that stage that I was so frustrated. I was like, "What am I even doing? Like, what am I doing?" I know that I was learning all these things, but when it comes to applications or like I want to put on this thing, like, okay, implement this thing, it's kind of a
Yeah.
little bit difficult. So I think that's a little like another thing people need to learn. Like, even though it's not cybersecurity, I think any tech related things, know if you want to go into software engineering, you want to go into UI UX, you want to go into cybersecurity. As time goes on, you find your niche. Yeah, I think.
Yes, at some point you have to show people how you've applied what you've learned. And speaking of that, one more question about, I guess, your time in CyberSafe. I did see that your team, for your team's final project, for you guys to graduate, you presented on implementing two-factor authentication, OTP, one-time password bypass using Burp Suite tool. What was that project about, and what was your kind of contribution to that?
Okay, so my instructor was like everybody. So it was just a final project for our graduating classes, and we're like supposed to pick a particular topic that suits us, that that you're confident in teaching or you're like confident in talking about, but it has to deal with a vulnerability assessment, like penetration and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
like report writing and things like that. So I think when my group came together, we finally end up in two-factor authentication, like bypassing OTPs. So I took the technical part.
Okay.
I think I've noticed something, like I think I like explaining technical things. Yeah. So I'm always
Mm.
falling to that range. My first project, it was like that. My second project, it was like that. So what I did was I did the whole. So my teammates were like doing the theoretical parts,
Mm-hmm.
explaining what the vulnerability is and the
Okay.
remediations and things like that. So what I did apparently was I carried out the attack, explain what. So while carrying out the attack, I'll like explain each stage, each process, and how this can be a great vulnerability for your company or even though you as an individual. So I was like more of the technical person in my team. Yeah, that was it. So
So Oh, did you? So did you
Okay.
present the technical demo?
Yes, it was a live demo.
Got you. Live
Yeah.
demo. Those are stressful.
Yeah. It was honestly like, because finding the 4 digits. So what my target was, that I was trying to get the 4 digit number just to bypass. It was a whole lot of stress. So on the day of the project, the judges were like, "What was your challenges when you were doing this?" I was trying to like, this is a whole lot of stress that that I had to like network issue, a lot of things. It was stressful. It was stressful. But I really learned a lot because I had to like do it repeatedly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it.
And I think the other thing that you have to learn with live demos is troubleshooting. I think you mentioned that, and being able to think on your feet or adapt to a situation when it changes. I will give you just a tip that I've learned from somebody else is, I think I've started to see with anytime there's a technical demo at a conference, people have recorded it. So they have already like done it, and they just recorded it, because that way it's like, look, I just have to press play. I know what I'm going to say, and I don't have to deal with technical issues.
Exactly. So
and I was like, that's genius when I saw that.
Honestly, I really do not even know these techniques, but something happened on the day of my project. So while I was carrying out the brute forcing process with brush suits, so I was supposed to get my HTTP status code was supposed to be like 200, like 200. So like, okay. So at the point I was supposed to get different length of number. So my target was to get 3 whole 2 status code. So that's my main goal. So immediately I started brush suits. It was a funny thing, but it was just, so when I started brush suits, I just got error 404. And the project was just 10 minutes presentation. Ooh. 10 minutes. So what I did was, so before the day of the project, I already made a screenshot, like a lot of screenshots.
Of the error or the vulnerability?
Yeah. Yep. So, and the final results, what I'm driving to. So I already opened up the tab, like in case I have this issue.
Just in case.
Unfortunately, the issue came up on the live demo. So immediately I had that issue, I had to talk to my judge. I said, fine, this is going to be a long process. So I had to like deviate it and like move on to my screenshots. And I started like explaining and it really saved me a lot of time. Instead of 10 minutes, I spent just 9 minutes. And I was like, I think this technique is that I record or I screenshot on any live demo I might have as time goes on, which is honestly very tense. It was.
Yeah. That's one of the things you learn early on. If you want to be in tech or cybersecurity, you have to learn to remain cool under pressure.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up is I saw back in September, you started a personal 100 days of code challenge to learn Python. Now, how's that been going? What have you kind of learned from that experience so far?
So last year was, I don't know if you noticed that. So last year I started learning Python. I chose the programming language. So because people were like, Python is like one of the easiest language for beginners. So I'm like, you know what, let me try that. So last year, I think around September, I started learning Python, and so it was 100 days. So I got to 34 days and I lost my zeal. I lost like my interest. So it's not that Python was giving me issue, but a lot of things was like coming up. So I was not really feeling it. So I stopped. Do
you think that's something that you'll pick up, or was it just more of, hey, like, I guess that's the other thing is, I think learning it is great, but programming may not be something of interest, or is that just something where it's just like, something came up where it's just like, I don't know if I could, continue to do this for another 60 days.
No, something came up.
Gotcha.
Yeah, something came up. So it was,
life happens.
Yeah, so life got into it. So I got deviated and things like that. So apparently, so another thing, like, okay, we all hear that we don't need programming languages when it comes to cybersecurity. Yes, but there are some situations where you need to understand all these concepts, and when you
Yeah.
understand, like, oh, even though you can't write it, but you can understand, you can read this, and you can understand
Right.
it. So, well, last year I had that issue. I stopped, but I know that I can do these basic things, but I still really do not have that zeal. It was just only me, so the zeal was not there. So this year, I just feel like, so when I got into CyberSafe, I feel like we're not like, so sometimes when we like meet some vulnerabilities, I tend to like read some codes and I get lost. So, and again, I joined a particular community where like they were like full of developers and things like that.
Right.
And I see what they do. And so sometimes I make contribution. I just feel like, you know what? I need to go back to my 100 days of
And
code.
try to start that
And
again.
I need to start from day one, not even where I stop. I need to start from day one. That's why I started. So apparently I've not been posting it on LinkedIn and things like that. But at the back end, I've been like learning and like trying to like get it done and things like that. So I think so this year is just more of like, let me refresh it all the way to January. I'm going to like make it worth it. Yeah. That
Love
was
it.
it.
Loving that continual learning. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that I know you started a few months back. You started to track your own cybersecurity journey through your podcast, CyberChive. Am I saying that right?
CyberChive, like an archive.
CyberChive. Sorry.
Yeah, like an
Oh, that
archive.
makes sense. CyberChive.
Yeah.
Got you. So what inspired you, I guess, to do that? What are some future topics that you want to discuss on CyberChive?
Okay. So actually, I've not been really like talking more of it on my LinkedIn or things like that. So I think what inspired it was, so on CyberSafe Foundation. So they were like being assigned to a mentor, and so we always have like meetings and things like that. So we get to talk, and she was like, "What would you like to do? Like, if you feel like okay, you want to go into public settings, and what would you think you want to do?" I said, I don't think I'm really much of a video person, but I think I would like to talk.
Okay.
So I feel like I would like to use this podcast as a tracking archive for my journey. And
Got it.
so it's just more of going to be an archive of my life, my journey into cybersecurity. And as time goes on, I don't know where that's going to get me to, but I feel like it's just going to. So I feel like if I'm going to be doing this, I'll get more dedicated in another part that, oh, I have something to do. I have some listener at least, even though there are going to be 5 people, but I know that these people are already like watching me and they want to do these things. And so I feel like, let me keep on doing this. And actually, I feel like I think now I will be settled and start like posting more, because for the past few months or weeks, I've not been like really, really active with it and like let people know that I'm onto this particular thing. But I think it's just going to be a great thing for me, actually, like knowing that, oh, I can learn and still come and document it somewhere. Yeah, I think that was it.
Well, yeah, like I said, well, just the fact that you started is something else. Just kind of putting yourself out there. It's I think that it's the hardest part when you first start, but definitely I think even I would say this, somebody can learn, I think, from what you've already gone through. So like you said, even if it's just those 5 people, I know will be grateful for it whenever you decide to start that back up or just continue to add more content. So the last thing I want to ask, or second to last thing, is for 2023. It's December, I think, 3rd for this recording. So 2023 is right around the corner. Temitope, what, if any, what are your kind of career goals for next year that you kind of have for yourself?
So next year is a lot for me, actually.
Okay.
So I plan on going back to school to learn.
Ooh.
Yeah, I kind of like go back to school to learn computer related. So I'm still like in between computer science or information security.
Okay.
So while
Can't go wrong with either.
so I'm still like contemplating on both. So I think next year, so I think one of my goals is to be a cloud engineer. Yeah.
Okay.
Cloud security engineer. Yeah. So I'll next year I'll be moving to cloud engineer also, but the offensive part. Yeah. I'll be moving to the offensive part of the cloud and try to upskill myself, and also while going to school, I would like to like get a job and still like getting real life experience while I'm even getting the school settings. And while I'm doing my offensive security pen testing, I'll also be focusing on cloud because I really, really want to go into that deeply, because cloud is not like going to be one of the greatest things in the nearest future. Like everybody's going to cloud. Data
Yep.
is like, yeah. So I feel like it's going to be a great deal for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what podcast I listened to, but I think they asked the person, "Hey, if you were going to go back to school or start over your tech and cybersecurity career, what would you study?" And they said cloud security, because as you said, almost everybody's at the cloud now, and because of that, the principle of how to secure that cloud is never been more. If you have that skill, that's never been a more sought out skill than right now. So definitely, I feel like you're on the right path there.
Thank you.
And so as we wrap it up, or before we wrap it up, I just wanted to ask: is there anything else, Temitope, that you wanted to add before we ended about any of your interests, anything you're up to, anything you wanted to say?
So right now, so what I'm up to right now is just upskilling myself. So right now, I don't have a job, but what I'm doing right now is learning and learning. And sometimes learning gets bored when you're not like implementing it on a real life settings and things like that. So, but while I'm still waiting for an internship or a role in pen testing or cyber analyst, I still like try to get my hands, get doing something. I get to learn things. And also right now I'm trying to learn GRC, like learning compliance. So because I now understand something, that cybersecurity is not only about hacking.
No.
Yeah. When it comes to like enterprise settings,
very small part of it.
Is fine. You're going to like discover vulnerabilities, but what are the policies being put in place? And if I'm going to be becoming a security person, I feel like I need to understand all these things. If I'm going to recommend, okay, this vulnerability is an high risk to your enterprise, what are the policy that needs to being put in place, best practices and standards? So I feel like, I think I need to know all these things, and I've started. So I think while learning all these things, I feel like, wow, I think there is more to this that I need to understand. Not just me breaking into computers up there and going, well, so I think for now, I really do not have much to say on what I'm doing right now. But for now, this is what I'm dwelling in. Yeah.
No, that's good. One of the things, Temitope, that I think you've continued to say that people can take away is your desire just to be a continual learner. And that's also something that people have told me, just with tech cybersecurity, you have to continue to learn. Of like, I know
learning
a little
never
bit,
stops,
but it never stops. Never, ever, ever. So I want to just thank you, Temitope. Thank you so much for coming on the show and just sharing kind of your journey and what you're looking forward to do in the future. And I just want to say thanks to everyone that's watching. Thanks so much for viewing the episode. And until next time.
bye.